Hello out there in digital land. We are live right now here at the Houston Center for Contemporary Craft. My name is María-Elisa Heg, and I am the curatorial fellow here at the Craft Center. And it is my pleasure to be joined by Molly Koehn and Dr. Ruth Smith to present a very special digital event, which is our Juror Awards event. Weave Houston is a really fabulous show. There are 40 plus pieces that are installed here, and the Handweavers Guild is an amazing organization based here in Houston with a vibrant membership that we're really, really excited to be sharing with y'all through the vehicle of Asher Gallery, where we are currently standing. So I really hope that you all are here and interested and excited to see some really incredible fiber artwork. I cannot overstate that enough. And also, I hope that anybody who's tuning in today to join us as we go through this ceremony and this awards event, please think up any questions or comments you have. We're going to reserve about 15 minutes at the end of our broadcast for audience Q&A. And I'm sure that some of our wonderful Handweavers Guild members are tuning in today. And if you are here, welcome. And if you are here, part of the Guild, and you have a piece in the show, we are so excited for you to join us. And I really hope that you enjoy this very special event. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Molly Koehn to introduce herself and explain a little bit more about the Guild.
Hi, yes, thank you, María-Elisa. So I'm so happy to be here. Like María-Elisa said, my name is Molly Koehn, and I'm the current president of the Contemporary Handweavers of Houston. And let me say, it's just a super honor to be here and to be the president and to be with such a wonderful group of weavers and fiber artists. The Contemporary Handweavers of Houston is a local guild. We have over 100 members that are all weavers or fiber artists of some kind. So it's not limited to weaving, but many of us are weavers, and there are several weavings in the show. But we've also got stitchers, dyers, felters, pretty much anything that's soft and fibery, we all dabble in. And this exhibition is a celebration of our 71 years of existence. It was originally supposed to be 70 years, right? A even number, but got rescheduled. But we're so happy that the show is still happening. So happy 71 years to the Contemporary Handweavers of Houston. Really amazing milestone and such an amazing organization full of artists and crafters and hobbyists and everything in between, and just a really, really great group of people. So I'm so excited to have this show up at the Houston Center for Contemporary Craft, and thank you so much for hosting us. Such an honor to be here.
Such a pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Cool.
Well, so now that we've introduced ourselves and the Guild and the Center, it's time for us to turn it over to our most esteemed juror, Dr. Ruth Smith. And if you will just give me a moment, I would like to just share a little bit of information about Dr. Ruth Smith sorry, I'm just scrolling through. So Dr. Ruth Smith is a former Contemporary Handweavers of Houston Guild member and a current professor of art in fiber arts and fabric surface design at Baylor University in Waco, Texas. Her career has led her to a variety of disciplines, from art education to the visual arts. And while at Baylor, she created a studio concentration in fabric surface design. So her 35-year career plus has been really amazing. And we're super, super honored to have her join us here today and give us her awards. So thank you, Dr. Ruth Smith, for joining us.
You're welcome, and I'm delighted to be the juror for this particular show. I was a member of CHH for about, I'd say 16 years, 15 to 16 years, because I lived in Houston for 17 years. So a good portion of that time, I was a member of CHH. And I'd like to thank María-Elisa, the Contemporary Craft Center, for hosting it, and for Molly for all the work she put into getting images to me. And I thought it was very nice that they were able to photograph each piece in the show and send it to me. They sent me multiple viewpoints of every piece. If it's a weaving, it started at the top, and every interval all the way down, they had a shot. If it was something 3D, I got numerous images to look at and details of those pieces. So that did help me, okay, in making decisions. And then in the walkthrough yesterday, was that yesterday we did the walkthrough, or the day before?
Monday, but what is time?
Okay, the day before. Okay, I lose track of time since I'm in my house all the time. Well, anyway, they went through every piece. I got to see every piece full view and every piece with detailed shots. So that also helped. And when I look at a body of work, I have an overview. I have an initial impression when I look at a group, whether it's a show or whether it's in slides or whether it's in person. It doesn't really make any difference. What I look for is something that grabs me and holds my attention. It's that initial impression that a person gets when you walk in and you look. Something says, oh, I like that. That speaks to me. You don't know what that reaction is, but there is going to be one. Is it visually persuasive? What is unique about it? Is it the form? Is it the materials? Is it the idea, the size? Is it atypical in the use of color choices? Is there some unusual treatment or novel adaptations? So there has to be something that grabs your work, your visual, and then you're going to walk up closer and look at it. Another thing I look at, is it evident the piece has content or context? In other words, is there an initial, does it express a stimulated and intriguing idea? Is there an idea behind the work? One that compels one to go closer to the work and to study and to look at it. What is it about the work? How did it communicate that particular message? It could be its form. It could be something related to elements and principles of design. But what is it in the content? What is the work about? And then another thing I look at is the composition. Is there evidence of a good, strong composition based on elements and principles of design? What we all learn in a basic design class. Everything looks like it fits and works together. And unity, there's a feeling of oneness in the use of the elements making up the whole. Do form, size, scale, color, texture, pattern, content, and idea support the overall visual statement? And then another one, is it clear that the artist has mastered the techniques? That's craftsmanship, the technique and processes used to develop the artwork. At the same time, it is important that techniques and processes do not overshadow the idea. Do they embrace the concept? And then the final thing I look at is the finishing devices. How's the piece been presented? Is it finished in a way that it complements the work? Do the finishing devices reinforce the form rather than taken away from it? How it's finished. It's kind of something what my mother told me a long time ago. Does the work, since we all work with our hands, we do things by hand, does the work look homemade or is it nicely handmade? Homemade look. I remember her telling me, and also my home economics teachers in high school, every seam has to be pressed open when you're making a garment. I've known of people when I was growing up that would make a garment and never press a seam till the whole garment was finished. It looked homemade. You could tell every time. Did you make that dress? Okay. Did you weave that? Did you make that? Okay. There's nothing more beautiful than a well-crafted handmade object. And I think that's what the Center for Contemporary Craft, I think they promote that. That's one of the ideas behind, I think, when you're looking at craft or any work of art. Okay. Now, I would like to say something about all the different materials, even though this show is largely made up of weaving and thinking about yarns and different kinds of yarns, wool, silk, cotton, synthetic yarns. There were other kinds of materials used that you might not think about. There were even commercial nylon fabric in there, stainless steel, dog hair, wood, lace, cassette tapes, wire, reed, paper, ink, thread, buttons, beads. So there were lots of different materials that comprise the total exhibition. And then techniques also I found were varied. Embroidery, weaving, Nuno felting, eco printing, shibori stitching, indigo dyeing, hand spun yarns, hand spun paper, basketry, machine sewing, hand sewing, felted wool. And then the forms also took on various aspects. Wearables, which I include clothing, household items like pillows or towels, wall hangings, sculptural forms, jewelry, and printed fabrics. So all the different materials and all the different techniques, there's that variation in the artwork itself, whether it had a utilitarian purpose or whether it had a more aesthetic purpose for walls. Okay, next.
Bravo.
Okay.
Yeah, and I loved all those comments because it really, what you just said represents the diversity of the
Right.
show, and it's quite impressive to see the diversity of the members. And I also just want to add before we move on to the awards section that the show was, every piece that was entered was accepted, and then it was juried for awards, which Mary Ruth will announce. So everything that you will see in the show, as long as it was entered on time, made it into the exhibition. And again, all of the works are by current members of the Contemporary Handweavers of Houston. Awards?
Okay, you want me to start this?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and put on my headphones. I'm gonna act as camera person, and I'll be moving around the room, and I will be showing everybody in the audience hopefully some good overall shots and details of our award winners. So I'm gonna put these on and exit the shot. Molly, please take over as MC, and Mary Ruth, of course, as well.
Okay. Well, I think we're going to start with innovative use of materials. So she'll find that piece. The winner is Once Talking Books. I do not know the artist.
It's Charlene Cobb.
Charlene. Okay. Has she found it yet?
Sorry. I'm so sorry. Patricia Day. I'm so sorry.
Patricia Day.
Yes, Patricia Day is the artist of this piece.
Once Talking Books. Okay. It is a weaving, woven, I think, on the loom, and it's comprised of cassette tapes and a tencel yarn. The tencel yarn is used for the warp. And from what I could read on her description, she unwound the cassette tapes, and supposedly each tape must tell a story. And I get that from the title, that they once were talking books, and so now they've been transformed into an artwork and using the technique of weaving. And she did unwind the tapes and transferred the tape to bobbins so that she could insert them in the shuttle and weave. Now, her design is striped. Do we have that yet? Are they seeing it?
Yes.
Oh, they see it and I don't. Oh, okay. Okay. It's a striped design, so I won't keep looking at the screen then. I'm looking for it.
Mary Ruth, you might need to just change your view to the grid view. There's a button in the top right corner, and you might be looking at speaker view right now.
As I tell you, I'm new with this. More, a grid. Share screen? No. Maybe it's over here.
Yeah, it's usually.
Oh, there it is.
Right.
Okay.
Got it?
Okay. Yeah.
Great.
I'm on my iPad, so that's why. Okay, so now you can see the stripe. Okay. and the color changes. And it's divided into 3 sections. And she used something that we all see in mathematics, the Fibonacci. You know what that is? The sequencing of the yarns to create the pattern. And that's that thing that goes, it's like the snail.
Right.
If you don't know, it's the snail. It's a 1 + 1, 2, and then 3, and then 5, and so forth and so on to create the snail. Okay, so that's kind of the sequencing that she did. So the reason that it was chosen for innovative use of materials is that I thought it was a good use of the cassette tape in a weaving, that unless you knew those were cassette tapes, you would not know that that was used for the weft in this weaving, because the way it's woven, it tends to cover. And also, she said it was washed, dried, and ironed. So apparently, after it was woven, it was washed. It happens to be 118 inches long by 11 inches wide. So I don't really think it's a wearable. I'm not sure. I think it is a nice wall piece, could hang, but also the way that they have it at the Contemporary Craft Center, it's more like a draped piece of fabric over the hanging device. And it's very well done, because I can go back and look at my criteria, and that also has to be part of the selection of the awards. It's not that it's just based on the innovative use of materials, it also has to be a good design. It has to be well done, and it has to have a meaning behind it. And I think the pattern is very nice. Now that view shows kind of the way it glitters, the way she's moving the camera, so you can tell that something is happening on the inside of that weaving. And there's a nice variation in the width of the stripes. They repeat, but yet there's a variation. The color choices, I think, also work very well together. Okay.
Yeah, it is an excellent piece.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Congratulations, Patricia.
Patricia.
Congratulations.
Okay, excellence in color, Technicolor blocks.
All right, this one is Charlene Cobb.
Okay. A vest, hand woven, and apparently she hand dyed the fabrics. And I would think that she had to hand dye the the yarns, because of the variations. And it was chosen for color, because when I look at color, I see 3 aspects of color. Color has a hue, it has a value, and it has an intensity. Also, where it is placed on the color wheel, the base colors here are red and green. They're Christmas tree colors, or Christmas colors, okay? So sometimes it's very hard to work with 2 contrasting colors that we normally associate with something. And you have to change the value, you have to change the intensity. And that's what, what's her name again?
Charlene.
Charlene has done. And then also, there's some adjacent colors that are used in the way she has dyed the yarn. So you might see some like red orange in there, some yellow green, but they're close enough in to the red and green that could almost be a double complementary very easily. I'd have to take my color wheel and look. But she has also dulled the colors. That's the intensity. So instead of using them at pure value, the color has been dulled. The dye has been dulled in the way she has dyed the yarn. Also, there's some nice red violets in there. It has lots of color. And so I think that's what I looked at on that. It's an 8-shaft double weave, and it's an artist-made garment, and it's her original vest pattern. And it is very striking as a complete garment, and it's very well made. I have to look at that. That construction in a garment, it does not look handmade. That is a very professional looking garment, from the hand dyeing of the yarns to the way they interact with the double weave that she's done. and silk inner lining, and also that nice little green that comes down the front. I think that piping, where she has brought the inside to the outside. And that also is a good technique. And it's symmetrical as a garment, but the color placement is not symmetrical. So that gives it a nice variation in the way that the colors move. And also there's like a foreground, middle ground, background. There's a movement front to back to front. And there's nice variations in the widths of her pattern. There's a grid. I love a grid system, and that grid is very evident in this piece. And the grid system is a good way to organize, because you have a horizontal and you have a vertical. And that's what's interesting about weaving on a loom, because of that beater is going to keep you vertical and horizontal, unless you're doing something very weird and changing the wefts around to where you have to hand bead. Okay.
Yeah, and I might add too, for the viewers that don't know what double weave is, it's a process that weaves a cloth that is both beautiful on the front and the back, so you can interchange colors and get these beautiful blocks like what you see here in Charlene's piece. And if we were to look at the inside, which this is lined right now, but before she lined it, we would have seen probably the opposite of what we see now, but still a totally beautiful side of cloth. And you can also use double weave to make tubes, and it's literally two pieces of cloth that become one. So it's a really fascinating technique.
Okay, thank you. The next award is Excellence in Craft and Technique. And it's called the Seasons, Winter, Spring, Summer, Fall. And it's a felted piece.
It's by Janet
Pardon?
Bowden.
Janet
Bowden.
Okay. Bowden, okay. I think the felt Janet Bowden, okay. Houston. Okay. When I first saw these in the images that were sent to me by Molly, I thought they were huge. I thought they were life size, because there wasn't anything around them that could give me the scale of them. And then when I saw them in the walkthrough the other day, then I realized that they were smaller pieces. But the felting is very unique, I think. And some places I do see where it might be seen, like on the sides, but yet I think the stitching the felting was actually done around a form. That's how I perceive it being done. And the forms are very abstract, but yet they're simplified. The easiest way to abstract something is to simplify the motif. And I think that she has done that in simplification of the leaf forms that she has used to denote each of the seasons. My students, when I taught at Baylor, since I am retired now, as of May 31st, 2020. So I get to do nothing there except stitch. And yeah, the most realistic part of this would be the faces. And I think this person did a very good job in modeling the faces, and there's a covering over the felt. I think the felt has been probably felted over a form, and I think that form probably was sculptural felt. And then I think it's covered. So it's very well done, as far as, to my knowledge, of the way that felting is made, based on my student work and what I have seen by other people. I've made felt, and I'm not sure I could do it as perfect as this person has. And what's interesting, where some of the colors kind of bleed out, and that's hard to control in felt, but I think it really works on this piece, where it kind of creates a shadow. I see that as being a transition into the background, so that it's just not a shape on top of a background like white on black or black on white. There's that little fuzzy look, so it bleeds out. It's not concise, but I think it works very well with this piece. Also, the fabric, which I think is purchased, that she used for the top. I think it makes a nice contrast to the felt, and at the same time, I think it complements the felt. I think it complements the idea behind her pieces. And then the hats, I think they work well with each one. And I think each one of them represents the season very well in how she did it. And then maybe one thing that I really like, since I'm a stitcher, I like the way she embroidered the shapes. So I have to get that in. Embroidery was a lot in this particular show, but it does enhance the design of the piece. It enhances the technique and the craftsmanship on the piece or pieces. And this one, I think they sent me probably 20 images, so that I got to see every part of it. And the hands, there's great detail on the hands, the craftsmanship on the hands, the detail on the hands, the fingers, the fingernail, and they were all stitched. It looked like they were stitched with the seams on the inside, but she had to do it on the outside. I don't think she could turn it, but yet the details there. And the cuff, I thought worked well on these pieces. And the what do you call that? The puffy, what do you call that on the sleeve? Gathered.
That works.
Yeah, it's gathered, but it's puffy. I'm trying to say puffy. And it works well because it gives volume to the top to match the volume at the bottom. And each of the bottoms are different. The skirts are different, and they're high-waisted, and that elongates the figure. If you know anything about fashion, you know all fashion people look like they have long legs. And I think she's done that. And there's abstract qualities to it because the waist is very little. It's distorted. It's not realistic to the actual figure. The thing that's most realistic would be the faces. And I think all of that feeds in to the technique and the craftsmanship and the detail and the contrast. So to me, it denotes good craftsmanship.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations, Janet. Really beautiful piece.
And then the Juror's Choice Award goes to Mixed Messages.
And Mixed Messages is by Laura Viada.
Laura
Viada.
Okay, right there. Now that when I looked at the images, overall, this piece grabbed me immediately. Why did it grab me? The design, the precision of the double weave, hand-woven double weave, 60 inches long, 8.5 inches wide. And I really didn't know the size of it. The colors or absence of color, the contrast, the scale, the differences in the 4 units that make up the piece. There is a reverse in the light, dark, light. The eye moves easily around the composition. Lots of variations in color, value, shape, line. The only thing missing would be form. When you think about elements and principles of design or elements of design, you don't have to use them all. In this case, form isn't there because it's a 2-dimensional piece. You might not even say color too much, even though they're more neutral tones. Now, there is some color when you brought it up closer that you can see in closer.
The color is very, very
right. Small. It's very, very close in value. So it's very hard to see that color unless you see it up close. Like I see the blues in there. So it's almost like it's complementary with blues and oranges, and then the whites and the grays. So the neutrals kind of break up the color, but it's good to have that color in the piece to add variation. And also the way the breaks are within the design, that like that black line or dark line there. But you see, it has pattern, it has texture as you look at it. Okay, and the widths, all the widths are varied. So to me, it meets the criteria for formal analysis of a piece. It meets the goals of art, of elements and principles of design done well. And the technique, the craftsmanship is done well. It has an emphasis on, to me, the formal elements. I don't know that our pattern, you might look at it and see it as pattern. And overall, it's a very rich piece. And I think the hanging device also integrates well with the piece. It doesn't detract, it works with the piece. Okay. I think that's it.
Yeah, congratulations, Laura. Beautiful piece. And congratulations to everyone that was awarded an award. Again, thank you so much, Mary Ruth. And we do have one more award to give. And that is the award for the first time entering an exhibition. So we had 15 members of our, I believe there are 44 pieces in the show. So 15 of them have never entered an exhibition before, which is really, really encouraging, especially for me, who is an artist who shows my work regularly. You know, I really think that this work is worth being seen. And so I'm so encouraged that these 15 members were encouraged enough, had enough courage to enter the show. So of the 15 members, this award was chosen at random. And it is Annie Lancaster with Bleeding Hearts. So congratulations, Annie. You can see her piece here, a table runner, really, really gorgeous. The detail, the craftsmanship, everything all together, just a beautiful, beautiful piece of weaving. And Annie, I'm so glad that you entered it into the show, and all of you, I mean, everybody that entered the show, I am so honored and so thrilled to have the show here at the Houston Center for Contemporary Craft. So again, congratulations to everybody that won an award. I think at this time, we are ready for a Q&A session. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask us or Mary Ruth, if there are any pieces that you would like to see, sorry about that. If there are any pieces that you would like to see closer, please put them in the chat. Nothing yet? Don't be shy. We're very nice. We definitely don't bite.
Can't. We're wearing masks.
Really, so maybe while we're waiting for questions, you want to just camera around the space?
I think I will.
Here I go.
So Molly, if you feel like giving a little commentary as I go.
Sure, yeah. So I'll just sort of chat through the exhibition while we wait for questions. Please feel free to use the chat at any time and interrupt me what you just, oh, we got one. So what? Oh, okay. So we are going to pivot over to this side of the gallery to see the blue Heron piece, which is felted by Rachel. I'm so sorry, Rachel. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but María-Elisa, maybe we'll zoom in right there and everybody can see her last name. And Rachel is also another member who this was the first time of entering an exhibition, which I thought was really amazing because this piece is, oh man, to see the detail of it. All right, let's take a look here. It's really incredible. Everything's incredible. Okay, yes. So we'll continue to walk through the exhibition. This piece is by Kyla Crawford. It is hand spun paper that she painted on the paper first and then spun it into yarn. You can actually see a video of her process on the HCCC Instagram page, Craft Houston. Several different pieces here. We have a rug and a pillow, basket, a shawl, some eco printing, lots of color play in this assemblage here. Beautiful scarf. This piece at the top here is woven with metal, so that's pretty neat. So she weaves with metal and then sculpts it into a form. Our lovely wall text written by the wonderful María-Elisa. Thank you so much, María-Elisa. Coming up on a jacket by Tracy Kastner. I believe this piece is also double weaved. So again, that technique that I was talking about that has the cloth that is both beautiful on the front and the back and creates two pieces of cloth that are essentially woven into one. Or sometimes you can leave it as two.
Molly?
Oh. Okay. What were you saying, Mary Ruth?
I was going to say that overall, the quality of the show is outstanding, based on the fact that every piece was hung in the exhibition, and that speaks very well for the members who were able to self-evaluate their work and put their best piece forward without it being something that you might not want to see at the craft center.
Absolutely.
So I think everyone needs to be recognized for that aspect of being able to select the best for exhibition. And I think they all work well together for an overview of the total show that represents CHH.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, I received images ahead of time of everybody's piece. But once we got them all in the space and got them up on the wall, or just seeing them in person, wow, I was totally astounded. And María-Elisa and I had a really fantastic time just pairing the works together and seeing how they all spoke to each other. And again, yeah, such diversity in the show, but it's so strong. And like you said, it's really impressive that every member that entered got in. We hung every single piece, and to see the quality of the work that was submitted, there's nothing in here that everything is amazing. Literally everything is amazing. So impressive. So we had a question about basketry, if there are any baskets in the show. So I might have María-Elisa come back real quick over to this basket woven by Mary Brown. And it is using a random weave technique, which means that there's no specific way that she wove it. As in, she's not following a pattern, so it's not specifically over, under, over, under, over, under. It's randomly woven in order to create the form, and then has some really lovely copper accents on it as well. And I believe that is our only basketry piece.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Not yet? Okay, so we'll keep moving through the space. This section sort of became a little tapestry section here. We have a nice, lovely little purse showing something functional that you can make from a tapestry.
Also, the way the show is hung, these hanging devices, for instance, that circle of the disc that you use for hanging that little bag, and also for the jewelry pieces, that was very effective.
I'm just going to jump in here and thank our facilities and prep guru, Joe, for coming up with some of the fantastic mounts in the show. He really, really did an amazing job.
He did, yeah. We requested several custom mounts, like the mounts that you see that are on the wall, like
yes,
those were handmade. The tree that's behind me, Joe made. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did a really, really great job. Lucky to have him on the team.
And they all work with the weavings. That's what's interesting. They work with the techniques that are done within the group. And I especially like the disc for hanging the jewelry. I think, to me, that's the best way. If it's going to be something that's sculptural, it's a wearable, but yet you've elevated it to more of a fine art by hanging it on the wall, that it can be used as a aesthetic piece to look at all the time, or it can be worn. So it can be a dual purpose for the piece. And I think that works sometimes with the things that we make.
We really appreciate that, and I'll be sure to let Joe know about your kind words as well. Thank you.
A lovely shawl here. Nice subtle colors. Coming up on a tapestry piece by Therese Coucher, or it could be Coucher. I have only been with the Contemporary Handweavers of Houston for 3 years. I've only been in Houston for 3 years. So there are actually several members in this show that I have not had the pleasure of meeting yet. A few of them I have met this year via Zoom, since CHH has been meeting via Zoom, which a nice plug there. If you are interested in fibers, please come to our meetings. Come join us. We're a really great group of people. Okay, question. We have 44 pieces in the exhibition, and some of them, like the tree that you see behind me, some of them are multiples. So like the scarves, that's a multiple of 3. There's some towels below that are a multiple of 3. We have some other towels that are a multiple of 5. But we have 44 members represented in the show. This piece is really lovely. What you're seeing here is hand stitching. And if you're familiar with the technique of stippling, it is essentially stippling with thread. So those are tiny, tiny little stitches.
Seed stitches.
Seed stitches, yeah.
Which I've done a lot of.
I've never quite had the patience to do seed stitch for a long time. I just can never fill very much up with it. But I do admire it when other people use it. It's one of my favorite stitches to look at. This is one of the felted works.
Nice white on white with the lace that's been attached and the netting to the, I think that's Nuno felted.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. And it's called wedding something, wedding
stole.
Wedding stole, yeah.
So this piece is by Sydney Formanek, who I happen to know used to be one of your students.
She was one of my students back in the 70s. Sydney, okay. I wondered what she was doing. She sent me an email about staying with her if I had come down to Houston today. But I haven't answered her yet. But I know her. I remember her very well.
Very nice.
She was one of my top students back in the day.
I believe it for sure.
Long time ago. Gosh. Batik.
Batik, yes, and I believe the only batik in the show.
Yeah.
I have such an affinity for batiks because my grandmother was the founder of the art program at my high school and middle school. And so she taught, she was the founder of the art program and then continued to teach art. And she taught batik in her art classes. And I went to a school, or I grew up in a town of 1,500 people. There were 25 students in my class. And our tiny little art program learned how to batik. And I think that was one of my first introductions to fibers. I haven't done it in years, but every time I see one, I think of my grandmother, and it's such a great memory. This is my work.
That's your work?
Yep.
I want to get a detail of this mesh because I just really love it.
Is that a found material? The mesh?
No, that is hand woven stainless steel.
Yeah,
Oh,
my
that's
dad's
the thing is,
total.
okay.
We missed it over.
Okay.
That's okay. Let's see, are we getting any other questions? Oh, quiet group.
Well, hopefully everyone is enjoying in rapt contemplation the show they're witnessing.
It's really nice seeing them again.
Yeah. And this will be, for you as well, Mary Ruth. This is recorded and will be up on the Craft Center's Facebook. So
Okay.
if you know anybody that missed it, you can send them the link. They can rewatch this really wonderful presentation that we've had about this work.
Nuno felted
And hand dyed.
and hand dyed.
So the gold parts are thrift store fabrics and various fabrics that she finds. And then they are merino felted with hand dyed wool. All right. And with that, that concludes our tour. And it looks like we're actually just a couple of minutes over our 6:45 stop time. So I guess if nobody else has any questions, I just want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight. I really had a lovely time, not only working on the show, with Molly and the Weavers and getting to know Dr. Mary Ruth better, but I think just to go back to what you said, the Craft Center is absolutely a place that understands and appreciates the importance of a well-made object, but craft is also about community. And so it's really more gratifying to be able to bring the Guild here and really reaffirm that connection with community, especially at a time like this. And so I want to say again, thank you so much for your expert comments and your wonderful presence here in our program tonight. Thank you, Molly, for wrangling all the and having everybody come through such incredible work under your diligent leadership. And thanks for everyone who tuned in today. We really appreciate you, and we really look forward to being able to see you and enjoy these works of art together in our space. Yeah, please come see the show in person.
All right, y'all. Well, Dr. Mary Ruth, we thank you again.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, y'all have a great night, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.